All right. I want to welcome Lauren to Profitable Pursuits. I am super excited for this conversation and for everyone to hear the good. So, Lauren, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
Cool. Let's just jump right in. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, and your business? Give us the lowdown in case the audience isn't familiar.
Yeah, so I am the designer that non-designers love. I do branding, web design, and design education. And my path here was a bit windy. So, as you know, I'm sure many people listening, they're like, yep, I can relate. So, I started out in university marketing. I worked for a university in the admissions office, overseeing marketing operations and technical systems. And I also taught a design course for non designers as faculty there. And so, did that for several years, did a quick stint in corporate consulting, and decided in January 2020 that I wanted to work for myself. I no longer wanted to, punch a time clock and have a boss, and I'm going to do my own thing, live my own life. And so initially, my first vision was that I was going to be a motivational speaker. Wanted to go to college campuses and speak to young adults, young professionals about, life and finding your own path and, all that good stuff. Then, of course, COVID hit, it derailed, many of our plans. And basically, I figured out that this course that I was teaching to university students could benefit business owners, professionals, VAs, freelancers, that everybody has design as a part of their to-do list and they need to know how they can design so that it actually is worth their while and, makes them money. And it's not just like, oh, I created a Canva template, but it's like, oh, I created a social graphic and it got someone to buy the thing that I wanted them to buy. So that is now what I do. And I focus on high converting branding, websites, and my design education.
Absolutely. I love that. When you made the pivot from the corporate world to like your entrepreneurship journey, that's not an easy pivot. It's not easy to go from W-2 income to now I'm in charge of my destiny. Can you talk a little bit about how you made that pivot and how you made it work for yourself?
Yes. So I had a part time job that I was doing 2 days a week that was like the not living the high life money, but the pay the bills money so that the other days of the week I could have the time that I needed to, post on Instagram and do things like this and, get my name out there and try to grow. So I did have a small amount of consistent income coming in, and that really helped. And I like that's kind of my best kept secret that I tell a lot of people. And I'm, always open to be transparent because I think that in the world that we live in, you listen to other podcasts, watch other videos, and you see these people and they're like, yeah, I quit my job and then I made six figures in my first year. And it's just like, nah, like that's not realistic for most of us. Like you either really lucked out or you're not telling us some other piece of the puzzle. So, yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for 3 years now, and I feel like I'm finally at the place where like it's all clicking and it's all working. And it's like, okay, this is really now a business.
I obviously didn't know your answer before asking that question. And I'm so glad that was your answer because my biggest pet peeve, especially coming from the financial world, is hearing like, make these massive, they're not even pivots, they're like 360s, change everything, quit your job, like just go all in. But the reality is, like, you need money personally to live and to make these harsh 360s. I can't even call them a pivot without having some financial stability is not reality. So I'm really happy that that was your story and you're willing to share it, because it gives others a glimpse of like, it's these small little steps that will lead you to where it works out. So yes, maybe I could quit the full time, but it was still a W-2 that helped get me to where I can now be full time and it financially makes sense. So thanks
Yeah.
for sharing.
And I would
Absolutely.
just add, like, I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with when they go from having a boss and peers and a team and a lot of, structure and being on projects, kind of being told what to do to now being your own boss is that they really struggle with, like, okay, so I wake up and I drink my coffee and I sit at my desk. Like, what do I do? There's just all this open-ended free time. And so for me, it kind of helped to have like, I only have 3 days a week that I can work on my business. So I know that I've got to make that time count. And it would be like, okay, the first half of the day is social media. And then the other half of the day is, working on my new course or, whatever. But like it kind of gave me some parameters to structure my time to be much more focused.
That like is total side tangent, but I'm obsessed. And I feel like I'm 5 years in and I finally have gotten to grips of that like nugget right there will change your life. I hate the word chunk. It sounds awful, but if you literally segment, that's a prettier word. If you segment your day and you have focused hours where you do certain things, freaking game changer. Would you
Mhm.
agree?
Yes, yeah. Like one of the things that I hate so much, and you're a money person, so you're like, you creatives, but I hate like paying bills and those like annoying, like just little administrative things of like, oh, your Stripe account needs you to go in and adjust this setting or whatever. So like every Wednesday from 8 to 8:30 is when I do all of my financial related admin tasks. So
Uh,
I know that when the email comes in at any point throughout the week of like, oh, your Dubsado payments aren't working. You need to go blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, that is the time every week that I'm going to go do those things. I review all my expenses. I categorize them. I look at money in, money out. I see where everything is. Like, I know that that's when I'm going to do those things. So yeah, I'm in a mastermind with a time management coach. And so she refers to it as task batching and theme days. So that's better than your chunk word that you don't like.
Oh, I hate that word. That I love that. Theme days, theme hours. That's what I currently do. And honestly, even with all of our clients, and we have clients from startups to over 30 plus $1 million businesses, and we do all those tasks on theme days or in theme hours. You can't do it the minute an email comes in because then you're railroaded from what's actually going to bring you in that next client.
Yep.
So let's jump into that. In order to have a profitable business that's profitable for you personally, it really all starts top line. Like if we don't have paying clients, you personally can't be profitable. Like there's no other way around it. It all starts at the top. So can you give some tips or tricks or like what has changed the game for you in obtaining, attracting? I once got schooled on my language, so I'm so cautious to say it now. However you want to word it, obtaining clients. Like what's your tip or trick to like bring people in that top of the funnel?
Yeah. So, two things that have been a major, major game changer for me. The first one has been market research. So, I'm the type of person that I believe that I know my ideal client in and out. I know their pain points, I know what they like, but I had a really harsh reality when I launched a course and spent a lot of money on copy and, different assets, and not a single person bought it, and was working with a business coach. And she's like, well, did you do market research? Like, did you ask people, hey, would you buy this course? What do you think about what's offered? And so now I will never launch a new offer or a new service without doing market research, because it validates that the thing that you're offering people want, that they're willing to pay for. You can actually get them to say in their own words what their pain points are, so that you can then use that language in your messaging when you're talking about the offer. And also for one-on-one service, I've found that it actually books clients kind of on the spot, because they are like, oh my gosh, yes, I would pay for that thing. I actually need that right now. And then you could just go ahead and say, okay, well, let me, send you my proposal or whatever. So market research, really big one. The other one I think is positioning whatever you are selling as a need to have and not a nice to have. And so for me, I used to talk about design in a way that was just like, I assumed that everyone knew what the benefit of good design was. And so I wasn't talking about like, oh, well, if you don't have good design, then you're not going to attract the right person. And someone's going to come to your website and they're going to, have doubts in their minds because things are pieced together or your website looks completely different from your Instagram and they're going to think that it's a scam or, whatever. And
Yeah.
so once I started messaging about what I do as, okay, not only does this look good, but it attracts your ideal person, it converts them, gets them to take action. That's when my business really took off because I was tying what I do to an actual, end goal and end result in their business. Like people spend money with haste on things that make them money or save them money. They don't spend money with haste on a nice to have.
Ooh, I like that. So if I was to summarize, and I like it because it's, we've done a lot of these episodes at this point, and so often people are like, "Oh, the mindset or this," but I like that you gave actual strategy. And if I was to summarize, correct me if I misunderstood. It's positioning what you do, what you offer, as a must. It's no longer
Yes.
like a nice to have. It's a like you must have X, Y, and Z because of PD and Q.
And that it essentially all goes back to money. Like, how does what you do save someone money or make them money? Because, like, people can always get around to spending thousands of dollars on something that's just, oh, yeah, like a better looking website. I can do that in a couple of years. But it's like, hey, no, like your current website, when people are going to it, and by the way, y'all have a great website.
Thank you.
So you're not one of these people, but
You pay a
like,
lot of money for that website.
right. Like, hey, like they can always get around to go, buying a new website. But if I tell someone your current website is, people are going to abandon on your homepage because of X, Y, and Z, or they're never going to get to your services page, or the way that it's laid out, no one's ever going to see your most expensive service. Like, those are the types of things that, oh my gosh, now I need a new website because I will make more money when I get that.
Yeah, and I would love to tie that back into like your first tip or trick. Make sure your copy like actually talks to not what you think their pain points are, but the way they say it. And sometimes that's like humbling yourself, like as I'm a boring financial person. I want to come in and just do like the finances, the operations, the back end. But when you're willing to like humble yourself and talk to someone and see how they word it, um, you convert better for sure. I like that tip.
Yeah. And just like when I do market research, I try to tell them as little about what I'm putting together in the beginning of the call. And so in the beginning, I just ask very open ended questions about how did you create your website? And tell me some struggles that you had when you were creating it. What's the most frustrating part about it? Like, tell me how you're booking clients. Like, and just truly just listen, listen, listen. And then I say, okay, well, this is actually what I think I'm, putting together. What do you think about that? Would you pay this amount of money if you could get this and this result?
I love that. So let's break it down even further. When you bring people in for that market research call or conversation, how do you find the people who are your ideal person who are willing to have that conversation with you?
So it's typically someone who I have a general vision of like, okay, this offer is going to be for the more established business owner, or this is for the newer business owner. And then I'll just reach out to people that I've interacted with in some capacity. They were a client of mine, I was a client of theirs, I was on their podcast, we message on Instagram, they always comment on my stuff, like someone that you have a bit of a warm connection with and you just say, "Hey, I'm working on a new offer and I'm trying to do some market research right now. Do you have 30 minutes that I can ask you some questions?" And let's be honest, people love talking as I'm loving this right now. So most people say yes.
Oh, cool. I like that. Let's go back to your business as like your specific business. Do you have like a pivotal moment or once you implemented a specific strategy, like things started turning the corner, like things started like the money started to roll in, the clients started to come a little bit more. Is there like, can you pinpoint a moment when that like happened?
So definitely the messaging, like when I was saying that I, started to position what I do as a need to have and not a nice to have. Like that has been a significant change in people booking with haste as opposed to, yeah, 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 like I'll get to that in a year or 2 years. But, and this is a little bit frustrating to hear when you're starting out, but honestly, it's time. Like you have to spend the time to like try this, evaluate it, what worked, do more of what didn't, try something else in that regard. Like it has taken 2.5 to 3 years to finally get to a place where it's like, okay, all all of the pieces of the puzzle have now come together. I have my DIY offers, I have my done for you offers, and like I couldn't have just snapped my fingers and had it happen from day one. Like it takes time to get there.
Sure. Absolutely. I also like to say, like, time also giving you the ability to evaluate what's working and not working, right? If you just constantly change the minute something's not working, you haven't given yourself the ability to evaluate why. Or if you change too much at once, like for instance, if you change your messaging plus your offers plus this plus that, you can't pinpoint where things needed to pivot.
Yeah. I would also say that for me, two things that have been incredibly valuable. One, I'm in a peer led mastermind. So, not a paid group, but five of us internet friends found each other and formed our own mastermind. And we do a retreat once a year, we do a Zoom call once a month, and we have a Voxer group chat that we're in constantly. And that has been so incredibly invaluable to just be able to rely on those people who are in the same space because prior to meeting them, I would just like sit at my desk during the day and should I do this thing? I have no idea. Like I had no one to talk to. None of my friends who had, corporate jobs could understand. Like I would, hey, can I call you and talk to you for 20 minutes? And I would spend 18 of those minutes just explaining, okay, so there's like this thing and it's called a sales page and this is what you need to have as a part of it. And so like I'm trying to brainstorm this one section. I need your input. Like it's very isolating when you don't have peers that you can rely on and collaborate with. So that has been incredibly invaluable for me. And then also therapy. Like coming from the corporate world, I had a lot of emotional baggage from bosses who pushed me and made me believe that if I wasn't at my desk until 8 o'clock at night, that I was worthless and that I needed to keep going and keep going. And the reality is, when you work for yourself, you're very efficient and you don't necessarily have to sit at your desk for 8 hours a day to get everything done that you need to get done. And like once you get your work done, if you hit a wall, like it's okay to stop. And I think like I had a lot of negative self talk about like trying to build this business and it's 2 o'clock and I don't feel like I can, go anymore because my brain hurts, but like I gotta keep going because if I don't, I'm worthless. So I've definitely had the opportunity to work on myself a ton and just how I talk to myself.
Appreciate that. Appreciate you sharing that. Let's jump into the internet friends one because that is something that personally has been the best unexpected gift of entrepreneurship. Being in the online world is the opportunity to connect. There's all these like sayings and taglines like your network is your net worth, and it is so dang true. It's so powerful who you spend your time with. So I would love, and like another thing I love about the internet is it gives you an opportunity to like encourage and almost like dream bigger because you see what other people are like dreaming, doing, and achieving. So if you're cool with it, I actually had it written down as one of my questions. What is like your next big goal? Like, what is the thing you're working on? Like, what is like the dream?
So for me, I'll talk like big picture. So I am more motivated by like freedom and time as opposed to money. Like, yes, there is a certain amount of money that I want to make in order to, live comfortably and travel when I want to travel, but it's not this astronomical amount. Like to me, what is more important is my time and my flexibility and the ability to say, yes, I can go on that trip with my friends, or I can not work this afternoon to go do the thing that I want to do. So I think it's just like my goal for the next year is like a consistent pipeline and just consistently feeling like the business is coming in and I'm being booked up and I'm, attaining those revenue goals. In terms of offers, I do want to roll out an offer that makes it more attainable for newer business owners to have a very high converting website, because currently my website offering is several thousands of dollars and it's a bit out of reach for a newer business owner. So that is something that I'm doing market research right now, is
Oh,
potentially like a group coaching type offering that would be like a DIY / done with you sort of thing for newer business owners. So that's one of the goals as well.
that's so fun. I love, like, I always like to say if I had multiple lives, I wish I was like good at the design or the copy or the whatever. And I just think God gives everyone different skills. And I am so grateful for like the designers of the world or the website people. I'm like, what? I don't even know what you're doing. We like send it to our website guy. And I was like, just fix, please. It's so great. Um, Another fun question I love to ask guests, and the answers are always like so vastly different. If you were to build the business you have today in half the amount of time, how would you do it?
Knowing what I know now,
Yeah, like take all the tools you know now, you have to start all over and build where you're at today in half the amount of time. What would you do?
um, I would delegate more, like hire people and delegate more. I think that's something that I struggle with a bit is, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate, like when it's so personal to you and you've put so much of your heart and soul into it, it is difficult at times to hand off pieces of the puzzle to other people. So I think like I spend a lot of time on like my social content because it's okay, like that I do design, like it has to look a certain way,
Yeah.
and I think sometimes I have a hard time relinquishing control of that to other people. So I think delegate more. But I am hiring someone. I have two people on my team and I'm hiring another person right now. So working
Yeah,
on that.
growth. I love it. Love it. Where can people stay in your world, and how can they follow along your journey and see your designs and inquire about services if that makes sense for them?
Yeah, so I hang out on Instagram. I'm felter.unfiltered. So you can find lots of, what I'm doing every day and free tips and tricks and all that good stuff. I also have a free quiz at felterunfiltered.com/quiz, and it is what fonts and colors should you be using for your brand. So it's just really quick and easy, and it gives you a good idea of what fonts and colors should you be using? Because that is the number one question that I get. So I worked on for about a year this quiz of,
How
well,
fun!
how can I provide this to people? Because it is the question that I get all the time.
And we are going to link all those down below. But I want to thank you for hanging out with us, for inspiring others, and for being a part of our online world. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.